see if I can put this in presenter mode. Can you guys see this okay? Great. Okay. So my name is Christina Butterworth, and I am the foundation director at the Yaya Foundation. I made a joke on a call about a week ago that it was my 1-year anniversary, and then Ron sent bubbles to my house. So I think that makes me official as a 1-year anniversary. Valerie Greger is here from the foundation as well, our illustrious foundation research director, who is amazing. And of course, Ron, the founder. We've got I think we have other co-founder families on as well. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for the time together, because these calls are incredibly important to me because I get to know all of you and I get to hear about what's important from all of you. So thank you for trusting me and joining us. So what I really wanted to do was just spend a brief moment just letting people know kind of who we are. Tammy's given me great feedback. Don't assume everybody knows who you guys are and what you're focused on. So I'll spend a moment on that. And then we'll talk about the data collection program that we launched the 3rd week of June. Some of you have participated, and I'm excited about that. Then probably what's gotten the most attention this week is the gene therapy project announcement that we made this week. So Ron will talk about that. And then I'm really excited to talk about that we're looking in 2022 to host a conference just focused on 4-H leukodystrophy. I mean, you know, we'll touch on many other topics, and that will be, I hope, a really great conversation. But we're just really excited that a first ever 4-H leukodystrophy conference is in our future, and early planning has started for that. And then I just want to touch real briefly, because amazingly, I think all of you are working to continue to bring new families into the fold. And so there's resources that we have created, that we have curated, that we are working hard to put together, that I just want to give you just a brief taste of what that looks like, so that if those are resources that are helpful to you, or as additional or newly diagnosed families come into our community, that you're aware of those and you can kind of help spread the word. I want to spend a little bit of time on that. So Ron, I'm gonna dive in. So Ron, Valerie, Tammy, anything to add to that?
Awesome. No, go for it. Thanks, Christina.
Okay. So for those of you guys who don't know, we have these calls every other month. And Tammy partners with the Yaya Foundation team, and she helps bring together, and Rachel Schombuckler has helped in the past as well, helps bring, you know, topics that are important, or helps, like I said, guide these conversations as the foundation drops off. So please, please, please feel free to bring topics, questions, etc., to either Tammy or anyone from the foundation on this call. We are, you know, gladly welcome the conversation. So 2 quick slides on who we are at the foundation. We are here solely to fight for patients and families affected by 4-H leukodystrophy. It's all we think about. It's all we focus on. It is what is grounded in every conversation that we have and every investment that we make. And so that is focused in a couple different ways and shows up in a couple different ways. It is, of course, in the world of research and therapy discovery. And there are some foundations that only do that. And that is, you know, core to who we are. But it's equally important for us to provide educational and emotional support to the families. We want to know what is hard for you. What are the barriers that you have? What have you created that you think other families could benefit from? Do you need connection to care? All of those kinds of things. We want to help solve those things or connect you to those things. And that's how we talk about our mission, both research, but, you know, what the families need beyond research as well. And so this is a slide, I won't totally go through every piece of it, but this is a slide when we are entering into a conversation with a new strategic partner, a new potential vendor, a new potential donor, our board, etc. We like to talk about, we've been in existence not even quite 3 years, and we are incredibly focused on organizing, whether it is, you know, bringing in the right funds, bringing in the right research community, and broadening the research community. We want we want to continue to pull up extra chairs to the table in terms of who cares about 4-H leukodystrophy. And so, the research community, it exists in one form and fashion today, but we believe wholeheartedly that it will continue to evolve and grow if we have any say in it. And Valerie and Ron spend a lot of time with me thinking about that. Of course, out of that has come a research roadmap. We host these calls. We have hosted a research seminar. Valerie, I wish I could remember off the top of my head, but we had a researcher in Italy raise his hand and say, I have something really compelling for the 4-H leukodystrophy community, and I would like to present it. And we had, I don't know, Valerie, over 40 researchers from around the world get on a Zoom like this, some of whom we'd never heard of, we'd never met. But our community that we've built of researchers reached out to their networks. And so we had this amazing conversation about Pole 3. And we're hosting one coming up in October that a different researcher has said she would like to present. And we expect at least another 40 researchers. So we'll be excited to share out with you what that looks like. But and then we launched a data collection, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And as far as, we're always looking ahead. Ron and I went through a really exhilarating budget exercise for 2022 on Friday. And so when we think about what is coming next year, we have to be planful to think about what additional research do we want to fund? What does this conference start to look like? How do we build a sustaining organization that the funds can kind of come in a way that we can fund the research agenda that we believe is the most important? And like I said, continue to expand the research and clinician community in terms of who cares about 4-H. I'm going to pause because I just said a whole lot. Questions, comments, something you thought you would see, something that surprised you, anything? Okay. I hope I'm not speaking too fast with my American accent, so I apologize for the international community. Okay, thank you, Martina. The data collection program, some of you have heard of disease registries, patient registries, data collection program, it's all the same thing. But if you were on our May call, our May family call, Dr. Nicole Wolf joined us, and she talked about why data collection is important. And so I'm actually stealing these bullets from her. And if you go on our Facebook page, you'll find a link to her full 6.5 minutes that she spent on it. But I just want to make sure that it's clear what data collection is and why it's important. And so as you can see here, clinicians like it because the more they know about the disease, the more they can sort of, prepare families and consult with families about what to expect from the disease. You all know better than I do about the variability in, phenotypes and disease severity. So, Dr. Wolf talked a lot about, the more data you have, the more you can understand about not only the specific mutations, but the phenotypes and the challenges that can throw at any given family. And so it's incredibly helpful to clinicians so that they can provide care to families. As I mentioned, just what's inherent is that just understanding the disease itself, what triggers things, what causes things, how do those things show up? And that basic disease understanding is what helps obviously inform research as well. So clinical care as well as research. And then the more data, the more baseline data you have, of course, the more you can understand about the effectiveness of potential treatments. And then of course, we would all love to get to clinical trial. And so if you already have a body of data that has a basic understanding of who is in our disease community and what type of disease, mutation and presentation exists, you can more quickly identify who could be ready for a clinical trial, a possible candidate. So that's really at the sort of highest level, why disease registries and data collection are important. And then, as I just take a step down about as we, the Yaya Foundation, looked at an important partner, The things that we thought about were, number one, we are not disease registry experts. We are not data collection experts. So we were not interested in building it ourselves. We have met many a patient organization who has spent a decade and hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to do this themselves. And in the end, we're not pleased with where they landed. So we really wanted something that was standardized, accessible. It didn't sit on a shelf, in one place. It was widely accessible, and that it was, of course, secure, which is a big deal, I think probably to you all and to us. And we wanted it to show up in a way that not just 4-H researchers and not just a researcher or two could learn from it, could access it, and could work with that data, but a broader set. And so those were the things that were important to us. And so when we were approached by RareX, we were incredibly excited that they are experts in rare disease data. They sit on or are built on the platform by the Broad Institute, which is one of the world's leading rare disease organizations. So they were not building from scratch. They had a very, very, prestigious and well-funded and stable organization behind them. And they were offering this to us at no cost, with you all in control of your data. So you get to decide who you share it with, when you share it, and and you're notified before you are too as well. So you are in complete control. So those were the things that were really important to us, as well as the fact that they are focused on the neurodegenerative diseases, the rare neurodegenerative. So we knew that we were entering into a place that is really focused in a space where there were going to be other researchers from completely different disease communities having the potential to understand our disease community and our symptoms and things that sit separate from the label of 4-H leukodystrophy that could be incredibly important. So I think if on some level, you all understood the importance of it, because we have had 45 families engaged in the data collection from, I think we're at 8. I'll say a number and then somebody will count and I'll be wrong, but I want to say 8 different countries. So we're a global community. I think just over 40% is non-US based who has participated in this. And I will just tell you, when Dr. Adeline Vanderveer at Children's Hospital in Philadelphia, when I told her actually 3 weeks ago that we were at 40, her eyes popped. She took herself off of mute. She put herself on video to say, that is incredible. And I said, yeah, our community is incredible. They believe in research. They're engaged. I mean, what more can I say? So we have got her attention. We've got Dr. Bernard's attention, and we've got Dr. Wolf's attention. So I definitely hope somebody can come off mute and just comment on either their experience with it, if you're feeling so bold and brave, or just kind of what you're seeing here from who's participated and who's showing up. Please feel free to take yourself off mute or ask questions.
I think this is phenomenal. I think this is incredible information from so many different families, so many different areas. We have been in this game a long time before there even was a 4-H. So to see this kind of progress is just so, I don't know, just kind of, heartwarming, I guess, kind of humanizes it, but it's really forward thinking, and it's really great to see. And it was easy to do, just very easy to compile our information.
Kelly, less than 30 minutes, around 30 minutes, something like that, maybe?
You know what? I did it as soon as it came out. I don't even know, but I don't remember thinking, this thing isn't over yet. So it wasn't an enormous outlay of time.
Awesome. Thank you.
I feel like it was more the privacy and how you wanted your data to the longest versus any of the. So that was good. That was very thorough as far as where they wanted and permission and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I feel like the actual data collection on the pieces with Fora were pretty easy.
That's a good point, Hillary. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, I think that they tried to sort of over-index on like all of the possible ways that you could want to or not want to share. So that's a really good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
What I liked about it too was you don't need stuff. You don't need cards and numbers and IDs and just genetics. You don't need any specific information other than what you already know about your own child. So it was very easy that way, that it wasn't bogging you down and needing to write down stuff and find things. It was just everything you already know.
Good point. And I think this first out of the gate 4 short surveys, a lot of them were quality of life, general medical, general health. There are more coming later this year. We were sort of, I think, fortunate enough maybe to get the attention of the CEO of RareX, and we had a one-on-one conversation with her. And I tried to pin her down to which surveys and at what time. She wasn't quite ready to, commit, but by the end of this year, there will be more surveys coming out that start to get more specific. I know it probably felt really high level, but the goal was to have a low burden to start with and a low barrier. And then to sort of, trickle the kind of breadcrumb style, just like get you used to it. So later this year, and as soon as I know timing on that and which surveys, I will be sure to share that out. But the CEO of RareX knows what 4-H leukodystrophy is. She is interested in continuing conversations with us, which is really incredibly excited. She is a rare parent herself. And so it's an incredibly caring community of really intelligent people. But thank you, I guess. Thank you for the feedback, but thank you for participating, because I'm like super proud of this. I'm incredibly proud. So thank you all.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm late. I'm in the middle of things, and Kurt's not home, so I got to go back and forth to jail. But I just want to say you're doing an amazing job. Thank you.
Oh, I think that was Debbie. Debbie, that was
Yes.
really sweet of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, and I'm always happy to continue to take questions on this. So I'm going to move on, but just don't, you can always ask questions, because I know this is what everybody's really here for, is the gene therapy project. So Ron, this is yours, I think.
Yeah. Thank you, Christina. So I'm Ron. It's really nice to see all of you, and really exciting to meet all of you. A lot of new folks that I don't think I've met yet here today, which is awesome. So hi everyone. Just quickly, I agree with Debbie. I just want to give kudos quickly to Christina and Valerie and the awesome team. There is so much exciting stuff that we've just been running through, and I feel like excitement isn't always what characterizes being of a 4HL family. And so I'm just recognizing that I'm feeling a lot of kind of hope and excitement as we tick through all of these things. So Christina and Valerie, just kudos to you guys, and thank you for your amazing work. So yeah, speaking of stuff that's exciting, the gene therapy project that we announced last week. So, I think all of us as parents of kids that are affected by 4-H have some version of a story where we're sitting in a doctor's office and we get a diagnosis that we've been chasing for a long time, and it's not a happy diagnosis, and we sort of hope that, okay, now that we've got the diagnosis, there's something that we can do about it. And I know that our experience was not that. We got our diagnosis and the doctors said, there's nothing, there's no therapy, there's no cure, there's no meds, we just don't know of any treatments right now. And just going back to Christina's mission slide, a big reason for why the Yaya Foundation exists is to change that, so that when kids get diagnosed, there is a treatment, and there is something that the medical and scientific community and we as parents can do about it. And so it is a long and challenging road to get to that outcome. But this is the first step on the road to what would be a gene therapy treatment that could help our kids. And the first step is a very hard step, as we've all learned. It takes a lot of coordination and a lot of administrative wrangling, and frankly, a lot of funding, a lot of money. And so I am really proud and excited that the Yaya Foundation stepped up to do all of those things and to step in and fill those gaps. And again, that's why we exist. So we convened Dr. Bernard at McGill and Dr. Guangping Gao at the University of Massachusetts. And a lot of you likely recognize Dr. Bernard. Maybe a lot of you don't recognize Dr. Gao. And I think that's really cool, actually, because we know why we recognize Dr. Bernard. She's obviously the expert that discovered the gene. She's who we all look to learn about 4-H. Dr. Gao is the president of the American Society of Gene and Cell Therapy. He is not a 4-H expert. He's a gene therapy expert. And convening, that's what we're trying to do, is sort of bring together around the table the people with the right skill sets to get to the outcome we want. And so we've sort of formed a team here with deep disease expertise in Dr. Bernard and gene therapy discovery expertise with Dr. Gao and his team. And we have convened them for the first step in the gene therapy discovery process, which would be a proof of concept, and funded it. It is, I'll just high level, it is development of mouse models of the disease, and then development of a gene therapy that would treat those mice and quote unquote rescue the phenotype of the mice, but lead to clinical changes in the mice that are observable. And like I said, the first step is hard to get funded. We're funding this. We hope that this project leads to generation of exciting, promising data that will unlock funding from more significant sources of funding than us, like the National Institutes of Health in the US or the Canadian equivalent. And we're really excited to see how this plays out over the next 2 years. We hope it's the first of many, but it's a really exciting milestone for the Yaya Foundation and for our 4-H disease community. So I'll stop there. Valerie, if you want to add anything, please feel free. And then would love to take questions from the group. And I'm hoping there's questions or discussion around this, because I'm sure there's a lot of excitement about it. So I'll stop. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ron. Yeah, I'll wait for the questions.
Okay.
To add.
I think you said, Ron, that like 2 years. Is that how long we have the funding for? Or is that how long it's expected to take? Or I was just kind of wondering, time frame wise, what does that feel like, or do we just not know at this point?
Yeah, Hillary, this is a 2-year project, and so we've funded it for 2 years, and we're hoping to see results in 2 years. Valerie, add or jump in though if you have anything there.
Yeah, and when you plan research like this, you can sort of plan what the experiments will look like, but of course, there are always things that happens, and so I think it's a reasonable assumption that we might know whether it works or not, and that will happen within the next 2 years. But as I said, it's not always you can't always plan.
I get it. Yeah, you're good. I'm a product manager who works with.
Okay,
so
you
IT team, so I get it.
I don't have to tell you. Have I spoken like a project manager here?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Valerie, can you explain a little bit more the actual gene therapy? Does that mean you're going to go on and take in the polar gene and do stuff to it?
We are not in this approach. It's not meant to change the gene in the body itself. So this is in the mouse, by the way. So this is still in the mouse, but the mouse has the mouse model that Dr. Bernard is building or making has a defect polar gene. And what we're trying to do is put another working copy of the gene in the cells in the brain, in the oligodendrocytes or the precursors. So we are adding genetic material. We are not changing the material itself in the organism's body, in this case, the mouse, and later on the human beings. There are other approaches to gene therapy where you actually change the gene in the cell, but that's not what we're doing here. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, so when you're saying another gene, a healthy polar gene will be put into the brain.
Yes.
Okay. And I remember reading an article, maybe it was written last year or the year before by Dr. Wolf, and talking about like the microenvironment needed to have effective, I think it was stem cell therapy. Does that, I mean, and not to dive into like a whole genetics thing, but does that also come into consideration? I mean, is it one of these things where if they can successfully get the gene in the brain, then it's a wait and see, or is it, do we know that we can get the gene in the brain?
That's what we're trying to find out. We know that there I think there have been precedents where in other disorders, genes have been gotten into the brain, and it is true. There are certain specific cells that we need to target and certain specific stages. So it's not just putting it in the brain, but it needs to get, I don't know what the context was with the stem cells. There's a completely different approach to therapy that uses stem cells to replace the oligodendrocytes that are not functional. We've been discussing it. We have not. There are sort of little, buds of these approaches, but we are not that far. This kind of therapy, this gene therapy, was really the most advanced approach to, the most developed one. That's why the Yaya Foundation decided to fund that specific project. Anything? Yeah. You're mute.
Sorry, are they using the splicer?
No.
No, okay.
No splicing. Anybody else?
I have a question. Where does the healthy copy of the gene come from?
It is produced. It's in the laboratory. It is probably taken from a healthy cell or so, and then processed in a way. Actually, Tommy, I might have misunderstood. I don't know why you mean the splicing, but it is basically condensed, and then so that is just coming from another healthy individual.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. I meant CRISPR. Sorry.
CRISPR, no,
Yeah.
you're not using CRISPR. CRISPR is the one that actually where you actually modify a person's genetic information, their genes, in specific places and in specific cells. We are not there yet. That, of course, would be the easiest way. Well, not the easy. I should never say easy in that context, but it would be the most elegant way to do it. But we're not there yet.
Okay.
Hello, this is Annalisa from Italy. Can you hear?
Hi.
I have a question about the mouse model. Is it also an objective of the project, or they have already developed one that can be used? Because to my knowledge, there wasn't yet a stable mouse model. So I was wondering if instead there is one now.
Well, so that's a good question. There were actually a couple of there is one for Paul R3A that has been developed by a different lab. It was just published. We are not entirely sure whether that has exactly the kind of a phenotype or expression of 4-H, whether that mirrors it in the way that we wanted it, or that Dr. Bernard wanted to mirror the disorder. She has the mouse model that she is developing. She already has gone afar, most of it. This is now, once again, mostly trying to make sure that the model that we have is really reflecting what we see in humans, because as much as it's nice to have a mouse, excuse me, mice are similar to us, but they are not the same. So sometimes if you change things in the mouse in the same way that they're changed in human, it does have a completely different effect. And so this is really the difficulty that she is struggling with. We do encourage the two researchers, the two labs, the Willis lab with one mouse and the lab from Dr. Bernard, to talk to each other and see whether the mice can be used. I think that's one of the reasons what we can do as a foundation, kind of nudge researchers a little bit to talk about things. I mean, would you agree, Ron and Christina, that that's one of the things we want to do?
Politely nudge, yes.
Yes. Okay. Was I diplomatic enough there? Yeah. So it really, yeah. So there are two more. We're working on it, but that's part of what we want to do. We want to characterize, or Dr. Bernard wants to characterize and make sure that it really is what we think it is.
Okay, thank you. And I also have another question. Since we have different types of genes, A, B, C, this therapy will address a specific one or it's more general?
So right now, this pilot is only for B, but we hope and expect that, once we can, I think what they're trying to do right now is to show that you can actually take the gene and put it put it into the right cells, and that when you do that, that actually changes the disease course. And the barrier to having the A and the C right now is having the right mouse model and having and the vectors will change a little bit, but I think that if I remember, C, one of the problems in A and B is that they are very large gene, and I think C is a little bit smaller. So that might actually turn out to be easier. But it is really, to do the proof of concept in one gene, and then yes, you have to do some more work with the others. But it does make sense, and it's not like that we are forgetting about the other, about you have, mutations in different kinds of genes. So
yeah, and Annalisa, I mean, another constraint is funding, just frankly, and so far these labs have not been able to secure funding from a large government source for a variety of reasons, but reasons that we in the rare disease community know, right? Small patient population, early stage in research, not a lot of promising data yet. And so our hope is that we can fund this one, see success, and make the, sort of de-risk the project, including proof of concepts with other genes, A and C, namely, for larger funding sources. And of course, we at the Yaya Foundation are working very hard to fundraise and certainly have aspirations to be able to fund more projects like this one, including projects focused on the other genes.
But as I say, I really want to say it's not like that when you take the other 2 genes or 3 genes that you start at 0. This is already pioneering and will, take care of a number of hurdles.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
For which gene they have started the mouse model? It is 3A or 3B?
3B.
Okay.
Did I get your question right? You said which mouse model they are using? That is 3B right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Martina in class, did I see you? Did you have a question?
Yes, but it got answered by. I also wondered about which mouse model it was, but
Yeah.
now I know. Thank you.
For now it is B, but really, don't be disappointed that the others. It's really for the pilot.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Other questions? Anyone else? Good. I had hoped that there would be questions and feedback and engagement because it helps us understand how clear we're being in our communications or those kinds of things. So, you're always welcome to send questions to Valerie, Ron, or I directly, or again through Tammy. Tammy, I hope it's okay. I just keep putting your name out there, but I know you see a broader audience than I do, for example, within the caregiver community. So, I'll just maybe close this section because I just feel like it's incredibly important to get like perspective. When we shared this announcement just on our Facebook page, which is just a sliver, right? It's a sliver of the universe, but it's an important one for us to be in touch with all of you. But that post was seen by over 3,100 unique individuals. And it was either shared or commented on or liked almost 400 times. So when I saw that, I mean, I knew it was exciting. We're excited because my gosh, we've been working on this since February. So we are so excited about, what this could mean for our community. But at the same time, when I saw that little data point, I just thought, it was really important for you all to understand how many people care about you and how many people care about 4-H leukodystrophy. And I appreciate that many of those, many of how we got that, how we will continue to get that engagement is from all of you. I know that you're telling your story and you're telling our story, and I know that you're sharing it. And that is how we will continue to not only grow the research and clinical community, but continue to grow the people who, who sort of hold us up and who kind of show that they care about who we are and about, what matters to all of us. So I just want to say thank you. And I just want you to sit for just a moment that 3,100 people care about just this little press release. I think that's really, really important. And I just need you all to know that there are a lot of people out there that care about you and obviously love you. So that's exciting as well. So there we go. Okay. So Tammy, because I know you're probably watching the clock tick down. So I will sort of speed through. I think I just have 2 more things left real quick. But we are excited that, like I mentioned, in 2022, we are hoping in April, we are hoping COVID stays where it needs to stay so that we can do this in Montreal in April. We are, like I said, focused really on 4-H leukodystrophy and what it means to move the research and accelerate the research forward, but as well what it means to provide care for our loved ones with 4-H leukodystrophy. And it was really awesome. Earlier this week or this last week, a couple of myself and Valerie and a couple of you got together to talk about what it would mean to bring together families and the research community and what would be most impactful and what do you want to hear about. And it was awesome because it was anything from not just, it was anything from sort of day-to-day care, like school and behavioral health and sibling care and, you know, all those very real dynamics, which was amazing because we've also met, you know, with Dr. Bernard, who's going to host us at McGill, hopefully, who was really focused on what are the clinical and research aspects that we could share out. And so what we're, you know, hoping to do is really bring together kind of a whole bunch of ideas. And, you know, if you're willing to sort of be on the lookout over the next, I'm just going to throw a time up there, next 10 days to 2 weeks, I would really love to, you know, probably via Tammy, but I would really love to either hear from you individually. You can absolutely send me directly some ideas, but I'd love to pull together some kind of poll or some kind of mechanism that you guys can all sort of raise your hand and say what's important to you so we can see what sort of rises to the top for the broadest of the community. So rather than talk about it on this call with, you know, whoever was able to make it today, I would really love to, you know, broaden it even more so to hear what's important. And so, you know, we would really love to have as many in-person families as absolutely possible. We think it's really important for, you know, as one of our families shared this last week, the kids are the teachers and they teach the clinicians and the researchers. And so we think it's incredibly important to not only have, you know, lock the researchers in a room and have them discuss what scientific, you know, priorities they think we should be answering and focus on, and not only have the families come together and, you know, share where they're at in life and those kinds of things, but to bring those two communities together and to, you know, have the kids and the parents and the grandparents and the uncles and aunties and whoever, you know, is able to be there, to have them really teaching and connecting and building a relationship with this scientific and research community. So those really at the highest level are our goals for this conference. And like I said, early planning underway. We have a location, we have dates, and we are, you know, of course, going to be having to make backup plans because COVID doesn't care if we're planning a conference in Montreal in April. But so just so you know, we are from the outset though, we are planning for in-person as well as the virtual participation as well. So look for more information in the way of what's important to you and what you want to learn and hear about, as well as maybe starting to think, is this something that you might be willing to travel for or not? Is this something that you would bring your child to or not? We are trying to plan potentially for clinic visits as well as a 2-day conference. And so, you know, we want to know if that's important to you. We don't want to plan something without you guys all saying, yes, no, forget about it. What about this? You know, that kind of thing. And then, and again, we can, this is my last slide, and then we'll take any questions on anything we've talked about or more broadly. But just to touch on the point, because we talked a lot about research, to give you all a sense of other things that we can help you with. And I didn't think of this until in this moment, but if you would like to volunteer to be helpful with, please don't be shy. But here's just some sampling of what we have spent time and prioritized to build. So as I mentioned, this group, you are all welcome on an every other month basis. We had Dr. Wolf back in May, which was a gift and amazing. She left plenty of time for Q&A at the end, and we covered a gamut of topics. Our next call on November 21st, Dr. Drs Bernard is joining the call. Registration is not up yet, but it will be, and I will let you know on our Facebook page and our website when registration is open for that. So we like to give you all an opportunity to connect, hear from us, but hear from other people as well. So these family calls we think are pretty important. We have spent a fair amount of time saying, we know that many of you have gotten real good at reading scientific papers. We know many of you probably wish you didn't have to be reading scientific papers. And so how can we remove some of that to do for you all? We have it's just a real brief, like 2.5 page disease overview that we will start sending out to all of our newly diagnosed families, thinking about just, what is 4-H leukodystrophy? How do I build a care team around this? What are some of the primary symptoms? How do I get connected into the community and into care? So if any of you are interested in that, please reach out to me and let me know. But it will start to become part of our just anyone who comes to us newly diagnosed. And so you'll see that link that's there. That is our contact page on our website. Anybody who goes there and fills that out will receive this sort of 3-pager, and it's just a sampling of we're building an entirely newly diagnosed or newly outreach process. Once you reach out to the foundation, we have sort of curated some very specific materials. And moving to that third bullet there, we are in the background building a brand new website. And part of that website that was really important to us is we are actually building a very specific library of materials. So yes, you all can go out and Google 4-H leukodystrophy, 4-H syndrome, polar 3, but we worked together as a team, including our genetic counselor graduate students who were with us this summer, who were amazing, and some of you met. And we built an entire library, and that is of videos that are recent videos that, for example, Dr. Wolf or Dr. Vanderveer or whoever have presented at, say, the United Leukodystrophy Foundation symposium, or the Leukodystrophy Care Network symposium that happened this summer. So we've taken sort of the universe of 4-H leukodystrophy materials and publications and all of those kinds of things, and we've whittled it down to what are the most relevant, the most important, the most recent. And for the tippy top ones, we've rewritten in lay terms. We've removed all of the scientific jargon, and our genetic counselors rewrote the, like, why does this matter to you? Why would you read this? Why would you watch this? So look for that coming out. I really want to say by the end of October. That is my hope. But that will be part of our new website launch. And then, as I mentioned, we can connect you to other families who are similar to yours or who are also newly diagnosed. Happy to connect you to care. And we've connected many families directly to care that they did not previously have. And here's, sorry, I just clicked up a letter. We're about to launch a letter as well, that if you're newly diagnosed, or maybe you've been, if you're Kelly, right? Kelly says, I've been in this for a long time, but we've created some materials that as you engage with new providers, that you can take to your provider and say, listen, this is what my child has, and here's how you provider, you doctor, can get connected to the best possible resources. So helping, describe what the condition is to the doctors and how they can help themselves further their education and awareness from some of the best resources. So look for that to be coming. And then just as Ron mentioned, fundraising is incredibly important. We're working on additional tools and support for this community to make fundraising easier. Debbie, we're super excited about the 4 for 4-H success this year. Jen Moss's brother has been out there doing his own creative things. I mean, each one of you is sort of showing up in really amazing ways. And so we want to help with that. So that's just a tip of the iceberg on what we think is important to you guys, but we really want to hear from you guys. If you're struggling with something that you think the foundation can help with, please don't hesitate to reach out. So that's all I've got. I'm going to take off my screen share here and just see what the group has for questions.
I got an email that I think it's the European Leukodystrophy I don't know if it's the association or what it's called. Yeah, is having another conference. Do we know if there's going to be? I think last time they had the hypomyelination like special piece. Has anybody heard if they're going to have anything specific for our subcategory?
That's a good call, Hillary. You know what? I don't know, but I will reach out to them and
Okay.
find out.
Cool.
Other thoughts or questions? Are you tired of hearing me ramble and you're ready to just dig into your own part of the call?